Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us another week. We have another great show planned for you. My guest later on today will be Daryl Boogie Johnson, Kennedy Award winner and former Oklahoma State running back. We'll be talking to him all about Oklahoma State. He'll be facing the WVU Mountaineers on Saturday in Morgantown. But first, let's start off with some community events going on and also a little quote. First, with the community events. The Christmas parades are just around the corner, and there are several that I want to mention because I know people always enjoy these events. You can get them on your calendar now. First, Friday, November 17th, the Wheeling Christmas Parade, always one of my favorites. You know, see so many of the local bands, so many of the different dancing clubs and schools, etc., and all the different floats that are involved there. But that's Friday, November 17th in Wheeling. And then the following day on November 18th is the Moundsville Christmas Parade, which is always another fun one. That's a daytime parade. And then on Sunday, this is a new day for this one, St. Clairsville will have theirs on a Sunday this year. Sunday, November 19th will be the St. Clairsville Parade. And if you want to get out and maybe see another one, a little bigger one, Pittsburgh has theirs on the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend, November 25th. That's a Saturday morning, and that's just a great big city parade, and you can spend the rest of the day in Pittsburgh doing a little bit of Christmas shopping and things like that. So that's always fun as well. So I just wanted to allow people to get those on their calendar now. A quote this week, and you know, the weather is changing, and sometimes that gets people down, gives you a little bit of the doldrums, and but you know, I really enjoy living in a place where we have the different seasons. I mean, I like going to where there's nice weather too, but you know, I like seeing the fall, the spring. I like, you know, even the winter. And I thought this was a great quote from George Gissing, an English novelist who actually died over 100 years ago, but still this quote is a very good one. For the man sound of body and serene of mind, there is no such thing as bad weather. Every day has its beauty, and storms which whip the blood do but make it pulse more vigorously. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I mean, you know, sure, is it nice to be able to get outside and do things? Yeah, but you know, sometimes the winter weather is what makes us look forward to the summer again, or to the springtime as it may be. So, you know, don't get too down about the weather being bad outside. Look for ways to take advantage of that and enjoy the crisp air, and know that it's a part of the cycle of life and part of living here in this valley, and have a smile on your face. We need to take a break. When I come back, I'll have my guest with me this week, Daryl Boogie Johnson. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
So, how was your first day?
Long. So, Josh asked me about you.
Daddy's home. Go get him.
For your home, for your life, for more than 50 years. The Hardwood Specialists. DeNoon Lumber.
Disasters happen. Pick the team that takes care of them all. Powered by offices in Wheeling, Morgantown, and Pittsburgh, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration is ready to handle any size emergency at a moment's notice. We have the right people, knowledge, and equipment to respond 24 hours a day.
I'm Dana Hogerson. When disaster strikes your home or business, tell your insurance provider you prefer the restoration company the Mountaineers call, Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration.
Welcome back to the show. This is my favorite time each week when I have a guest with me, and my guest this week is Kennedy Award winner and former Oklahoma State football player Daryl Boogie Johnson. Boogie, thanks for being here today.
My pleasure, Jamie.
So I want to talk Oklahoma State. Of course, a big game in Morgantown this week against the Mountaineers, and let's talk a little bit about your experience playing there. Back in the '90s when you played at Oklahoma State, different conference, of course, but a lot of the same teams, but playing the Oklahomas, Texas, Nebraska, teams like that. I mean, what's college football like out in that part of the country that people here we're seeing those teams now, but not really out there?
Yeah, it's a lot different in the Midwest because, back here, of course, it used to be the Big East, and it was the Midwest. I played in the Big 8 instead of the Big 12. At the end of my career, it changed to the Big 12, but, it's hard to sit there and talk about West Virginia when you're in Oklahoma. They look at you like you're crazy. But now that West Virginia is in the Big 12, it's big, and everyone talks about West Virginia now, even in Oklahoma.
You had an opportunity to, play tailback at Oklahoma State at a time when, the Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, those guys had been tailbacks there. I mean, it was the place to be a running back, back at that time. and you had an opportunity to go out there and had some issues with some shoulder injury, things of that nature, but really got an opportunity to get in there right away and play even early on in your career.
Yeah, I played as a redshirt freshman. There was a guy named Mark Williams that was there, and he actually got turf toe that summer, and he was a Florida Player of the Year. So me and him were battling back and forth to be the starter, and I ended up beating him out. He ended up leaving, and then of course, remember you came and watched me play in Northern Illinois. That's when I broke my collarbone, I think the first time, and I played with a broken collarbone for like 2 quarters. So yeah, it was a fun experience.
I enjoyed coming to watch you play. It wasn't too far of a drive for me from Notre Dame to go out to Northern Illinois. It was 3 or 4 hours or something like that. But yeah, I remember seeing you down the sideline. I knew from knowing you something wasn't right, but I couldn't tell exactly what. But
yep.
Let's talk a little bit about, fans may wonder, okay, Oklahoma State's got to travel across the country to get to Morgantown. What type of effect does that have on you as a college football player when you're having to travel as opposed to playing a home game?
It's a big difference. I mean, sometimes you think, sometimes you think it doesn't make a difference, but when you ride that plane and you get off and then you got to go through this whole daily process of meetings and eating and then maybe a movie, and it wears on you. And I mean, when you're at home, you go to a hotel, like we used to stay in a hotel the night before, you get up, eat breakfast, and you just walk right out and go play. When those other teams are going through all this stuff while they're on the road, and then you got to play a football game, and sometimes it takes a lot of teams, it takes them probably like a couple quarters to get ready.
Yeah, I think a lot of times people wonder, is there really, in addition to the crowd, a home field advantage? And, one thing we see in the Big 12 now, with West Virginia in particular, if Oklahoma State's playing Oklahoma, it's not that much travel. You probably get on a bus, you go out there, but going to West Virginia, you're talking about, as you said, a plane ride and everything else.
Yes, it's a big change.
Well, let's talk about Oklahoma State a little bit. They were one of my preseason picks to make the college football playoff this year. I had Oklahoma State, I had Ohio State, I had Alabama, I had Notre Dame. All 4 teams kind of still alive, but this week's game is a big one for Oklahoma State because they have that loss sitting there now, and to stay alive for the playoff picture, they probably need to run the table.
They have to run the table, and of course, Oklahoma State's been the same way since I've been there. As soon as someone tells them they're good, they lose that next game. And I knew it was going to happen. Everyone was saying, oh, TCU, you'll beat TCU. I said, we're going to lose to TCU because everyone's telling us we're good, and I knew it was going to happen. So Saturday now is going to be a war down more in Morgantown.
What type of team is Oklahoma State having? What do they rely upon? Have you gotten to see them play much? I know you're busy with your coaching yourself, but
they run and pass well. They do both. They have 3 receivers that are really good. One's I think he's the Thorpe, or not the Thorpe. What you call it?
Is it the Blitnikoff Award?
The Blitnikoff Award.
Receiver?
He's a finalist. James Washington, who's real good. Then they have 2 other receivers. One transfer from LSU actually, and he's also really good. Actually, 3 of them had over 120 yards against Pitt. All 3 receivers, so they're pretty good. And plus, the running back is like one of the top in the country.
You keep hearing about this quarterback, Rudolph. And people keep talking about him and his ability, but I haven't gotten to see him play yet, so I'm looking forward to seeing him this weekend.
He's real good. He's really good. Pocket passer.
With respect to your background and history a little bit, people talk about college football and they may wonder what's it take to get there. I mean, obviously you had incredible talent, Kennedy Award winner for top player in the state of West Virginia, but what's it take for someone obviously besides talent to be able to get to playing at the college football level, playing at the level that you played at?
Of course, talent's always got to be there, but you also got to work your butt off really, but you also need luck. Luck's got to be on your side because you're talking hundreds of thousands of college football players, and you're talking maybe 30 scholarships on each team. So in order for one team to get 3 running backs out of the whole entire country or one team, it's got to be luck on your side, and they have to like what they see at that time because there's always someone that's better somewhere else. So it's a lot of luck involved and hard work.
We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue talking with Boogie Johnson a little bit about some of his other football interests here in the Ohio Valley. Stay with us on the Jamie Bordas Show.
Fighting for homeowners.
Fighting for workers.
Fighting for children.
Fighting for mineral owners.
Fighting for patients.
Fighting for policyholders.
Bordas and Bordas, fighting for justice.
We're Panhandle Cleaning and restoration, and we're gonna save you. We've got it down to a science, an absolute state of art. We do it all, restoration, cleaning, and reconstruction. When disaster strikes, just pick up the phone. We're Panhandle Cleaning and Restoration, and we're gonna save you.
Welcome back to the show. I've been speaking with my guest this week, Daryl Boogie Johnson, Kennedy Award winner, former Oklahoma State running back. And of course, the Oklahoma State Cowboys have a big game in Morgantown this week that we've been talking about a little bit. But Boogie, let's turn a little bit to, your interest now in football, which is Wheeling Park. For one, you're a coach there. Been coaching the running backs, and a couple years ago, your son Savion, of course, a star running back on the team that won the state championship game,
Yes.
Park's first state championship. That had to be a great experience for you to get to that first state championship, and of course doing it against Capital, the team that we played for Wheeling Park, we lost to in the state championship game.
Yeah, it was a great experience. I mean, it was like a movie almost, kinda. We, who would ever thought? And then Savion coming off the knee injury, and then it was just unbelievable. Then of course it would be Capital in the championship, and I would be coaching, and my son would be the running back. I mean, it was unreal.
I thought it was pretty interesting that even the last play of the game, there's the Capital throws the Hail Mary down the goal line, and there's a defensive back for Park wearing number one, and it's just everything seemed the same. And I'm sitting there in the stands thinking, everybody's thinking not again,
Exactly.
But this time turned out a little different. The ball gets, it goes the other way this time, and so that had to take a little bit of that bad taste out of your mouth from not winning it as a player to be able to not only win it as a coach, but see your son, lift that trophy up.
Yes, it did, because I talked to Matt DiLorenzo. He would call me every so often and say, "I'm still mad about that Capital win, that Capital loss." But then, no one talks about that anymore now.
Yeah, I sat with Matt at that championship game a couple years ago. We sat together and we were really enjoying that game, and really happy for you, to be honest. I mean, in terms of happy for all the players, the coaches, everything, but especially happy for you because of Savion's role and you're being one of the coaches. Speaking of Savion, he's now at West Liberty University. Scored his first college touchdown last week.
Yes.
So you were down in Charleston to see that?
Down Charleston, yes. He's been through hell with his body, and ever since he hurt his knee, he's had some issues with the body. And that's football. That's one thing about football. It hurts your body. I mean, the ones that can stay healthy are very lucky. And he's been one that he got a shoulder injury. He still has a shoulder injury. Then his ankle gets tweaked up. He has to have surgery after the season on his shoulder again. So he's been through a rough time to get that touchdown. I was happy, happy for him.
There's got to be a lot of pressure on him. Dad was a star running back, Kennedy Award winner, played at Oklahoma State. A lot of pressure on a kid. And now Amari, your younger son, doing a great job running the ball for the Little Patriots. I see his highlights on Facebook and other places and see what a talent he is. And I actually got to have the fun of coaching him in flag football a few years ago, which was a lot of fun. But, what's it like, when what do you say to your kids, in terms of, hey, you got to make your own way? What's the message?
I just, I try to keep him away from all the hoopla on the outside of it. And, a lot of his younger friends don't even know who I am actually from football or nothing that I coach. So they really don't put no pressure on him. It's a lot of the older people our age that just saying, hey, are you better? They'll see Amari at the Dollar General and say, so you think you're going to be better than your dad, or say, and they put it in his mind. He just looks at them like they're crazy. But, but I just tell him, just keep your head level, stay humble, and just play.
What have you found? You've been coaching high school football now for a number of years, and also involved with the youth organization, the Little Patriots, that you've been a part of now, and running that organization for a number of years. What do you find to be most rewarding about working with the high school kids and then also the younger kids?
The best part is that 2015 team that when we won the state championship. I coached those kids from when they were 7 at Little Patriots, and almost like I followed them all the way up. Even though I didn't coach them in middle school, but it was all the same kids. I think there were 15 to 16 starters off of that team that played with me at Little Patriots from when they were 7. And then we ended up winning the state championship. So it's pretty rewarding to have all those kids come up with them and then winning the state championship. Also winning championships when they were younger with the Little Patriots.
You know, as a coach, one of the things that people may wonder is, okay, you had all this incredible talent, ability, skill when you were a running back. Is it frustrating when, you know, if you're coaching a running back and they can't quite make that cut that you would be able to make, or, you know, be able to bounce it to a certain spot on the field?
Yes. You know, the crazy thing is I'll yell at Rennie, I'll yell at Donnie, I've yelled at Bryce Ingram when he was there, and and I expect them to do different things. And then also, when I look at it, I'm like, I couldn't have done that, the stuff that they do. But yes, I always wonder, did they not see what I would have seen there? And I mean, so we'll have our little battles back and forth a little bit, but it's fun though.
Park's had some great backs, you know, you've coached, and I'm sure that your influence has been strong on them. You know, when you look at some of the guys that you just mentioned, and you know, a couple great runners this year, and teams at 4-4, and I think, you know, win the last couple, and you get a shot at getting into the playoffs there, and then who knows what happens, but that's always the goal, is to get in there, and then you got a shot.
Just got to get a shot. Just got to get there, and then you never know what happens.
You know, one of the things, of course, you have to deal with a lot with, you know, being involved with, you know, youth sports, whether it be high school or the Little Patriots, is, you know, the influence of parents on the sports, and that can be tough. I mean, if there was one message you had to give to parents about their role in their kids' sports, I mean, what message would you give them?
I would say just sit back, you know, let your kid be a kid. Stand back, you know, and don't be so involved that you're arguing with the coaches and you're at home telling your son and daughter not to listen to the coach. And just sit back and relax and let it go. Let the process play out, because the coaches are out there for a reason. A lot of them, some are involved with their mom and dad, or their little kids are out there playing. But there's a lot of people that aren't getting paid to do it, and they just want to do it to help your son or daughter. You know, just stand back and let the process go.
Before we have to go, let's get a prediction on this weekend's Oklahoma State WVU football game. I know you got the orange on there.
Yes. I'm going Oklahoma State 42-35.
High scoring game with those offenses. It usually is.
Yes.
And I think that's going to be one of the keys, is can anybody stop anybody?
Each other, yes.
And what about the college football playoff? You know, 4 teams are going to make it. Is Oklahoma State going to get there?
I think they're going to squeak in, and I say Alabama. I think Notre Dame. I've been rolling with Notre Dame all year. Oklahoma State, and I want to say, depending who wins this game Saturday, Penn State and Ohio State, one of those go in. I'm saying Penn State.
All right, so you got Alabama, Penn State, Oklahoma State, and Notre Dame. Pretty close to my preseason picks. I had 3 of those teams in the preseason.
Yes.
I didn't have Penn State. I had Ohio State, but pretty close. So, well, Boogie, I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. I know it's a busy time of year for you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We need to take a break. When we come back, I'll be talking more sports. Stay with us here on the Jamie Bordas Show.
Don't forget to do your homework.
All right, Mom.
Trick or treat.
Here you go. Happy Halloween.
For your home, for your life, for more than 50 years, DeNoon Lumber.
Tractor trailers are some of the most dangerous vehicles on the road. There are federal rules for load sizes, driver's hours, and maintenance for a reason. When big rigs don't follow these rules, entire families can be torn apart. We have the talent and the resources to take on these large companies. Hopefully, through our work, families are being helped and trucking companies are getting the message about safety. Bordas and Bordas, fighting for justice.
Welcome back to the show. It's time to talk sports, and we'll start with the Pittsburgh Steelers, who got a big win over the Cincinnati Bengals at Heinz Field over the weekend. I said they would, and they did. Ben, Brown, and Bell, the 3 Bs, they looked the part. I mean, they played this weekend and all played well. The defense has been playing fast, but they're playing fast and hungry. I mean, you saw late in the game, I mean, the defense was getting after Andy Dalton, the Bengals quarterback, and Bud Dupree was playing fast. The other guys were getting after it. And now the Steelers stand at 5-2. In first place in the AFC North by a couple games. And, I said they needed to be 8-2, 7-3 at the worst through 10 games to keep pace with New England for home field advantage through the playoffs. And that's when I thought that the Steelers would have the Packers with Aaron Rodgers in that last 6-game stretch. Of course, the Packers a different team now without Aaron Rodgers. So, I still like where the Steelers sit at 5-2. Now they get a Detroit Lions team who has a really strong run defense. And I think that's going to be a big factor in this game. The Steelers have been feeding Le'Veon Bell the last couple of weeks, but now they go up against this Lions run defense who's really tough. Does that cause the Steelers to limit Bell's carries? Offensive coordinator Todd Haley came under some heat early in the season for not giving Bell the ball enough. And, of course, a lot of fans talking about Bell's not being in camp and how that affected him. So what will happen this week? I think Le'Veon Bell needs at least 20 carries a game. I like it when he gets it 25 times a game. But they need to get to him at least 20 times a game. That'll be the big factor. Is Haley willing to continue giving the ball to Le'Veon Bell, even if he gets shut down early? And I think with a back like that, you have to keep giving him the ball, giving the ball. Even if early on, he's not getting much. It may be on his 16th, 17th carry where he starts finding the lanes and starts wearing them down, and the offensive line maybe starts beating on the defensive line a little bit. So I think they've got to get the ball to Le'Veon Bell this week. I like the Steelers by 3 points on the road on this Sunday night game in Detroit. It's an 8:30 start. Martavis Bryant's still an issue, saying he wants to be traded. I talked about this a little bit last week. All the drama the Steelers have experienced over the course of this year. And I think it starts with, you have these issues where guys, want to make it's a snowball effect. You have Le'Veon Bell not in camp, unusual for the Steelers. You have Ben and AB getting into little disputes, AB knocking a water cooler over. James Harrison putting pictures on Twitter, tweets out there that say, getting used to what I do during the games, and him sitting on his helmet on the sideline in practice. All those types of things, just play into one another. And then a guy like Martavis Bryant, who's still a relatively young guy, says, I guess it's okay to act this way in the media, or okay to cry about how much I'm getting the ball or how much I'm playing, and they think it's all right to do that. And then it becomes bad for the organization. The Steelers are going to have to really sit everybody down on that team if they haven't already and say, look, enough of this. And they may have to put a ban on talking to the media during the course of the season. I don't know what else they can do at this point. It's just not what you typically see from that organization. They need to do something about it. Speaking of professional sports, the World Series is underway, and my pick before the playoffs start was the Dodgers over the Indians in the World Series. Of course, Indians got knocked off, but the Dodgers are still alive here. And I'm going to continue to, and I still like them to finish it off against the Astros. So I'm going to stick with the Dodgers, who I picked before the playoffs started, and they're looking impressive. Let's set out and go to college football and talk about your college football Saturday here. First of all, noon, right here on WTRF on ABC. Number 11, Oklahoma State at number 22, WVU. Talked about that already a little bit with my guest today, Boogie Johnson, on the show. It's tough to get the crowd into these noon games. I mean, this is a number of 12 o'clock noon starts in a row for WVU this year, and it just makes it really tough and takes away that crowd noise that you typically get in Morgantown. A couple weeks ago against Texas Tech, the crowd got into it finally. They kind of attributed it to the big fella on the scoreboard who was dancing and everything. I'm not so sure that was it. I think the team started coming back, et cetera, and the fans got more into it. And maybe they had a few more drinks into them by that point later in the game. But I don't like these noon games. I think it takes the crowd a little while to get going, maybe even gets the team a little bit longer to get going. But I do think that WVU will be helped by being at home. As Boogie Johnson alluded to, Oklahoma State has to come all the way across the country on a plane, then a bus, and then do all these other things. I like the Mountaineers by 3, and I think this is a huge game nationally because this affects whether or not Oklahoma State can stay in the playoff picture. They were one of my 4 picks before the year. I'm going to abandon that pick, I guess, now because I think the Mountaineers are going to knock off Oklahoma State this week. I'll take the Mountaineers by 3. If Oklahoma State does get it done, I'll still like them to stay in the playoff hunt and be one of the 4 teams. So I'm not going to give you another team just yet, but I do like the Mountaineers this week. Then at 3:30 over on Fox, number 2 ranked Penn State travels to Columbus to take on the number 6 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes in what is probably a playoff elimination game. A win doesn't guarantee the team they're going to be in, but a loss, whoever loses this game is probably out of the picture. Ohio State would have a second loss. Penn State would have a loss and probably not be in the mix to get into the conference title game and doesn't have enough on the non-conference schedule to be able to get it done. But I do like Penn State in this one. I think that Barkley and McSorley find a way to make plays, and I think the Nittany Lions win this one, which would eliminate another one of my college football playoff teams from the preseason, Ohio State. I'm not going to throw another team in there again just yet because if Ohio State gets past this one, I do think they've got a great shot. But I'm just not sold on this Ohio State team. I love Urban Meyer. I think he's a great coaching mind, but I just think with Barkley at running back, Masorley at quarterback, they find ways to make plays, and I'm not so sure that Ohio State can get it done offensively this week. Also at 3:30 over on NBC is number 14th ranked NC State at number 9 Notre Dame. The Irish looked awfully impressive last week against USC, but this game has me concerned for Notre Dame. NC State has a great run defense and has had 2 weeks to prepare. They had a bye week last week. The Irish are coming off of that emotional win where they dumped the ice bucket on head coach Brian Kelly's head after the game. That's how big of a win it was for Notre Dame. You don't usually see that in a mid-season game at home where you're favored by 4.5. But at the end of last year's Notre Dame season, which ended at USC in California, Brian Kelly gave a post-game speech where he talked about having to do the things to get back to the level of being able to compete and play and beat USC. And so I think that's why that game meant so much. And I think the Irish are on a mission this year. Being my alma mater, I follow a lot of things very closely on Notre Dame, and they've just got that chemistry that they haven't had in a while. And Brian Kelly brought in 7 or 8 new coaches in the offseason, including offensive coordinator Chip Long and defensive coordinator Mike Elko. And they're doing good things. I like Notre Dame to win by double digits in this one, even though it's against an awfully impressive NC State team. And then at 8 o'clock, Texas Tech at Oklahoma. Check that one out because of the high-scoring offense. This will just be a fun game to watch. And Oklahoma almost gets knocked off every week. I mean, they find a way to come back to win, though, because Baker Mayfield is a winner, and he finds ways to do it, and he's awfully fun to watch. So check out that 8 o'clock game. My upset pick this week, I think someone in the state of Washington goes down. Washington's number 12 in the country. Washington State's number 16. Washington has a home game against UCLA, who's dangerous, but has really had a down season compared to expectations. And number 16, Washington State, goes on the road at Arizona, who's much improved over last season. I think it'll probably be Rich Rodriguez's Wildcats of Arizona getting the upset this week. That's a 9:30 game on the Pac-12 network. I really like watching those late-night Pac-12 games while I'm trying to fall asleep on Saturday nights. I doze in and out, and then usually I see the post-game interview of the coach, and I look to see what the score was because I missed the end. But I really think one of those teams goes down this week. I think they're both in jeopardy, but I'll say Washington State's the more likely to get upset by Arizona. Next week, we'll take a look at the first college football playoff committee selections. They come out with their first rankings next week. So on the show next week, we'll take a look at what those rankings are because that's what really matters, is what that committee sees and where they rank the teams. And I think after this weekend, there could be some shakeups. We'll know a little bit more with the big games there between Penn State and Ohio State. The Oklahoma State WVU game and the Notre Dame NC State game. We'll know a little bit more where people stand. So I'm looking forward to next week's show. We can talk more about the college football playoff, and I'll give you my updated picks for making it to the college football playoff this year. That's all the time we have this week. I appreciate you joining again. Loved having my guest, my friend Boogie Johnson on the show. We'll see you again next week on the Jamie Bordas Show.